Welcome to another episode of Whiteboard Project Management YouTube channel. In this channel, we explain the tools and techniques used in the project management in a practical way. So if you are new here or you are interested in project management, consider subscription to the channel to get notified with all the new released videos. This is a training session for risk management. Stay connected and let's hit start. Thank you for joining this training session. I had prepared this session on slides because the risk management is an important factor and a part of project management, and because it's a wide session, it has a lot of information, so it needs a lot of concentrate things. So I used the slides to explain it to you, and then followed by this session, there will be some sessions on the whiteboard explaining the unique parts of this risk management on the whiteboard. So we will take examples on the whiteboard, and we will go in details of information for each slide which we are presenting here today. So let's go to the slides and let's start the session. First, what we have here is the definition of the risk. So what is risk, or what you can define as risks? So risk is an uncertain event. This is an event which could occur during the project execution, this occurrence, if it could cause the negative or positive effects on the project. On which part of the project? On the scope, on the time, on the cost, and the quality. So this event could happen. This event could be expected and could be unexpected. So you can expect the risk. You can say, okay, I'm expecting that during the execution of the project, some of my laborers could not work. They could be sick, or something unexpected, that you are doing something like nowadays you are back in 2020 when the COVID epidemic hits the world. This is unexpected event. Nobody expected it, and it's occurred. So the risk is an uncertain event that if it occurred, it will cause a negative or a positive impact. A negative we explained, a positive that could lead something which could help, like you have a project and you are mobilizing people to another country, and you need to prepare the visa permission for them to get access to the country. But during the project execution, could be the country of the place where you execute your project. They could tell, okay, now you don't need any more visa. Your visa will be on arrival. That means it's a positive risk. It was a risk before, and it's now a positive risk, which gives you better stabilization and flexibility. So this is the definition of the risk. Next slide, what we have here is the type of risks. Okay, so we said we have risks which we defined, and we have risks which we not defined. During the tendering stage of the project, you are defining some risks. And you said, okay, I'm expecting to have some delays. I'm expecting to have some things which are could lead to some delay of the project, or extra cost of the project. So you are defining actually some risks. And during project execution, also you are setting you have your contract in front of you, and you start defining the scope. So you are start defining for each activity its own risk. So you are defining the risk step by step and checking activity by activity, and you are telling, okay, for this activity, there could be something happened positively or could be happened negatively. So those are the known risks, which are here defined. So, and those known risks, when you are identifying it and you setting the budget, you know that these risks could occur, then you set for these activities. For each activity, you have the activity contingency reserve, where you are expecting your risks of the each activity. So if you don't know the contingency reserve calculation or where it is, you can go back to the other sessions which already posted on WPM YouTube, and you have there the definition of the activities, the cost breakdown, and the definition of the activity and the activity contingency reserve, where we have the risk for the known risks. Cost is there for each activity. The other type of the risks are the risks which are unknown. Those are the risks which could occur and nobody had defined it, nobody expected it. When these risks occurred, you as a project manager, you don't have the cost for this risk because you didn't define it. So what you are doing it, you have to set the cost for this risks, and you are saying, okay, I will be having some budget for the unknown risks. This budget will be set from your management, and this will be set in the management, will not be used by you unless you are submitting a change order to your management requesting to take the fund from this management, and this is the management reserve. So the management reserve for the project it's not in your project budget, it's in the company budget, and you cannot use it unless the management is approving it in an approved change order for covering the unknown risks. The unknown risks could be like a force majeure, could be a war or something which is unexpected to occur. Okay. Next slide, what we have here, we said that we have known risks and unknown risks. Now, we have the risks which are positive and the risks which are negative. The negative risks which could occur to extra cost, to extra delay of time, quality, bad quality or something. Those are the negative risks, which we call it as threats. Meanwhile, we have risks which are positive, that could occur positively to the project, and those are the opportunities. So we said we have known and unknown risks, and we have positive and negative. So that means we have here known threats, and we have known opportunities. We have unknown threats and unknown opportunities. So known threats are, because they are known, so they are identified. Threats, they have negative impact. Has risk response? Yes, it has risk response because it is already identified. Cost covered in work package contingency reserve because they are already identified. Unknown threats, they are unknown, so they are not identified. They have negative impact because they are threats. They has no risk response because they were not identified, and the cost covers in the work package for the management reserve. Going back to the known opportunities. Known means identified. Opportunities means positive impact. Has risk response? Yes, it has, because it's already identified. Added value covered in the work package contingency reserve. And the unknown opportunities, same, they are unknown, so not identified. Positive because they are opportunities, has no risk response because they are not identified, and their added value covered in the management reserve field. Okay, so we go now to the other part, which is the risk management process. This is the process for you as a project manager, which you need to take care. Okay, so talking about risk management, now as a project manager, first what you need to think, you will go to step number 1. Step number 1 is identify your risks. First, you need to identify the risks. You don't know what is going to do, so you have the contract, you have the project in front of you, and you start identifying the scope, the activities one by one, and accordingly you start identifying your risks to put in the table. So step number 1, you are identifying your risks. Then going to step number 2, where you are going to the other process, which is the risk assessment. And the risk assessment is important part. This is important, and we will stop with this risk assessment on the whiteboard in the next sessions, and we will explain in details more things on the whiteboard. Okay, so risk assessment, first thing what you need to do in the risk assessment is to perform your qualitative risk analysis. Then you need to quantitative risk analysis. What are the differences between the qualitative and quantitative? For the qualitative risk analysis, you need to prioritize your risks. Which risks has the priority number 1? Which risk has the second priority? This is the qualitative risk analysis. Then you move to the quantitative risk analysis, where you put the numerical analysis of each risk. You put the value of each risk. It doesn't mean that when you have a risk with, let's say, with a quantity or a number of, let's say, 10,000 US dollars, and you have another risk with numerical value of 100,000 US dollars, it doesn't mean that the 100,000 is more prioritized than the 10,000. This is not correct. Why? Because the one with the 100,000 or 10,000, 100,000 US dollars, which is much higher than the 10,000, this one could occur like 2%. But the risk which has the negative impact of 10,000 US dollars could have the percentage of occurrence 90%. That means, yes, you are going to lose this 10,000, and this is the difference. So first you need to prioritize and then put the numbers. The numbers is not the prioritization of your risk. So perform qualitative risk analysis and then perform the quantitative risk analysis. This is the risk assessment process. After you put the risk assessment, you have identified your risks, and you put the figures, and you put the list of priorities, and you put the figures. Now you need to prepare, okay, what shall you do if this risk occurred? You need to reduce the risk. Sometimes you could avoid the risk, but sometimes you could reduce the risk. So you need to put an action for each risk. If this risk occurred, what shall I do? Okay, you put a plan for the risk response. You put a plan for each risk, what you will be responding in case of this risk occurred. So during your project execution, it will be too late for you to think what you shall do. Means during your project execution, when the risk occurred and you already identified these risks, you will go back to your risk register. We will come down to with other slides for this. You will go to your risk register, you will open it, and you will see your risk, and you will see your risk response. Then you will take the response and you will execute it. Means you are implementing the risk response. This is the step number 5, which is here. Once you plan it, you are implementing the risk response once the risk occurred. Then when you implement it, we use in the project management, whatever we execute, we have to monitor and control it, whether your plan is okay or not. So you need to move to step number 6 to monitor your risks. Once you are monitoring your risks and you are going good, you can continue. But if you are monitoring your risks and you are analyzing that something is going wrong, I am not according to the plan, I estimated it with minus 10,000, and now I'm seeing and forecasting it to minus 20,000. So that means your risk response is not good, and you need to go back to number 4 and plan the risks again, implement the response again, and monitor, and keep this cycle ongoing during all your project execution. Okay, so we said that we have to identify the risks. As a part of identifying the risk, you need to prepare your RBS. The RBS is the shortcut of risk breakdown structure. The risk breakdown structure is a simple table where you have the levels, level 0, level 1, level 2, and you can go to more deep levels. And I just put here an example of those levels. So you can say the RBS, I'm expecting it to have an external risks, technical risks, contract risk, contractual things, financial things, stakeholders, organization, fabrication, construction, and. So if you talk about external risks, so what are those external risks? Those could be something related to political issues, like closing the borders of some countries, or I don't know, wars or something. There could be a travel restrictions. There could be some language risks where the other parties or other clients are not understanding your language, or your team is not capable of used language in the contract, and so on. Technical things. So this could be something in the technology where the client is requesting something very specific, and this could be very, very challenging to you. Or could be something related to the emission, where the client is requesting from you a sharp emission things, and you have to do something special to reach those emissions. This could be something to the noise, where you are making a project and this could make some big noise, and you need to reduce the noise to keep your EIA report in a good way. The EIA is the Environment Impact Assessment report. Okay, contractual. This could be definition of completion, the mechanical completion of the unit where you just installed, or the handing over, or the licensors which is selected by the client. Financial things, this could be to late delay of the payment, or no payment from the client for some reason, for delay in the letter of credit, or not validity of letter of credit, or delay of the approvals from the client, or whatever. Could be also taxes, where the tax could be increased during the project execution, and the currency rate, where if you don't have the currency rates fixed, and during your project you are dealing with another currency, then you could face real problems. We will go to these things during the risk management. Okay, Next, the stakeholder. So the client, the joint venture parties, or the vendors could be challengeable, and we all knows that some vendors, you are dealing with them and they are very cooperative. Other vendors are sharp, they have their own rules, and they are not flexible at all. Those are the risks. If they are not flexible and the client is insisting to use this vendor, then you have some risks of delaying and for risk of accepting other party terms and conditions during your contract. Other things related to organization like skills, limited resources, IT system means they could ask you to use Primavera where you don't have Primavera. You are using Microsoft project for the time schedule. They could tell you that you need let's say 10 electrical engineers and you have only 2 electrical engineers. It could be something related to the skills that you need somebody specialized with medium voltage where you don't have the medium voltage specialized, and you need to bring some external things, or you need to improve your team to get them the required training, the required tools, and the certification for them to prepare them. Other things like the fabrication, so you could have the shop capacity or the shop rates. That means the capacity is already filled and your shop is not fulfilling the dates required or the deadlines. Construction, things related to construction like design errors. You are submitting your detailed design, and then during the construction you find that you have some problems with your design. So these are also risks. Or during your construction you are damaging some existing part of the plant. So this is also a kind of this risk. So these are the risk identification. You can define so many other risks. This I just put the main things which you could use, so you can do yourself your own risk for each and individual project. Next part, now this is the probability impact matrix. Okay, the probability impact matrix are related to the qualitative risk analysis. And during this risk assessment part, you need to create your probability impact matrix. This matrix is your key to analyze your project risk. And this matrix now it is a sample of the matrix, how it will looks like. So let's explain it. You have the impact on one side and you have the probability. That's why we call it probability impact matrix. So first thing, you need to make the range for your probability and impacts. So you have the range of very low, low, moderate, high, and very high. You have it in both sides. You have the numbers, and you are saying the probability, if the probability is less than 10%, this is an example, okay? For each project, you are identifying your probability and your impacts. So those figures here, the 10%, the 10 to 30, 30 to 50, 50, 70, 70 higher, this is an example now here. For each and individual risk, you are identifying it in a different way. So this example, we are checking that, we are saying that up to 10%, this is a very low, and up to between 10 and 30, this is low, and so on. The impacts, we are saying that if the impact is less than 10 pounds, then it's very low. If it's 10 less than 30, 10 to 30, then it's low. 30 to 60, it's moderate. 60 to 150, higher than 150, it's very high. Means if I have the probability 1% of 10, and it's number 1 times 5, this is 5. 2 times 5, this is 10. So here you fill the risks in this table, and you will see your risks where they are set. They are set in the green line, or green cells, or the yellow cells, or the red cells. If they are in the red cells, make the possibilities to reduce the red to yellow, and make the possibilities the maximum to reduce the yellow to green, and make the possibility to make the green raised. Means get out of the risk, get rid of the risk, and you are clean from the risk. So this is the responsibility, or the probability impact matrix. Later on the whiteboard, we will take an example for figures, and we will calculate the probability impact matrix, so I can show you exactly how to calculate it. Okay, now we have an example. I prepared for you this example for calculating the expected monetary value, the EMV. The EMV, actually, it's a value where you are multiplying the probability times the risk. If we go back to the previous slide, you can see that here we have 1 and 5. 1 by 5 is 5. We have 2, 5. 2 by 5 is 10. 3 by 5 is 15. 4 by 5 is 20, and so on for the other cells. So this is the EMV value, actually. And here we are saying, okay, we are taking this example to explain to you what is the EMV and what is the use of EMV. So I took a very practical example from our life. You need to buy a car, and you have two options: buy a new car or buy a used car. The new car is costing you $20,000 US, and the used car is used for $15,000 US. You can buy it for $15,000. So if you consider here that the probability of failure for the new car is around 2%, then the probability of passing, and there is nothing occurred for the first period, okay? For the first period here, we are identifying that it is for the first year. So that means when you buy the car from your agency, it's a brand new car. Within the first year, maybe 2% only occurred that the car will be failure for some reason. And the rest, 98%, the car is working properly. If you take the car as a second hand and it's used car, it's a used car, depends on the condition of the car. So if we consider that the used car costs you $15,000 US, and the used car, the probability of failure could be around 25% because the car has been used for so long, then the probability of passing and there will be no problems is 70, the rest, which is the 75%. Okay, with simple calculation, when you have 2% of failure for the new car, and the new car costs you $20,000 US, so you are taking the $20,000 US times 2%, plus the rest 98% times 0, because you are spending 0, plus the cost of the new car. That means for the first year, your car could cost you $20,400 US. While for the old car, you are saying that the probability of failure is around 25%, and 25% times the cost of the car, 15,000, plus 75% times 0, plus the cost of the car, you are getting the 18,750 US dollars. So if you simply compare for the first year or the first period, we are saying here a year because we are identifying the period as a year, but could be a period during your project. The period could be for a quarter, for 3 months, for 4 months, for a month. So now for this car, first year, it will cost you around, expected to have 20,400, while the old car will cost you 18,750. Okay. If you plan to have the car for one period, means for 1 year, then it's now clear that it's more worth to buy the old car than the new car. But if you plan it for longer period, means for, let's say, 2 or 3 years, you can say that, okay, the probability of the first year is 2% for the new car. The probability for the second year is around 3%. The probability for the third year could be 5%, because it's still a brand new car and still be used. While the other one, it's already used, and now you are using it more and more and more. So 25% in this year, next year it will be like 30%, and the third year could be like 50%. So when you take the calculation of cost for the first year and second year and third year for the old car, it will be much more than the new car. Considering in another way, if you are in a project and you want to buy those cars, okay, check your project time. You are executing your project in a different country, and you are saying, I want to buy the car for the project. Okay, you get the management approval, and you need to select the car. So what is the better? You need to select a used car or a brand new car. Check your probabilities for the period, what you have. If you have your project for 2 years, for 1 year, for 3 years, calculate the cost, and then just minus with the car value after this 3 years, and you will get the sum. You use also the same formula for the old car, and you compare the two values. Then you will see which one is bigger, which one is smaller, and you make your choice. So this is the practical example for you, and this is the decisions you make for buying something. Sometimes this could be used also for, let's say, okay, what is better? Shall I send somebody really specialized to the site to make some commissioning of something? Or shall I send some guy from my side, get him a training, and then he will do it on site, and it will be much cheaper? Also, this could be added value because my team will be well trained. So this is a kind of strategy used in this way. Next one is the calculation of EMV for the whole project. Once you did the risk analysis and the calculation for each risk individually, as we mentioned in the previous slide, now you have the risks here. I just put risk A, risk B, risk C. So you are identifying your risks. Your risk could be 100 of risks in a table. So you put your risks, you put your probability, you put your impacts, where you are calculating how much this will impact on this one. And then you will get the EMV. The EMV could be plus or minus. because some risks, like you see here, the risk B is added value. The risk B is actually an opportunity. It's not a threat. It's an opportunity for the project that if it occurred, it will add value to the project and I will be gaining some money, or I will be saving some money, which I already calculated that I'm spending it actually. So you can see that I have minus 2,500 plus 500 minus 100. Simply total EMV is minus 2,100. That means in this period, I am calculating that I have a threat and I could be having a minus 2,100 for my risks during this duration. So the steps are simple, clear. First, calculate the EMV for each risk in each period. This is the risk in each period. Compare the EMV of same risks in the different periods, because you have the risk A where you have it in this risk A in this period is minus 2,500, but risk A during the second period could be minus 3,000 or could be minus 5,000. So you are comparing the two periods and you are checking if the risk is reducing or increasing. If it's increasing, then you need to do some risk response quickly to reduce it. If you are reducing it, then you are heading to the correct way. Okay, next, when you did all these things, you need to create the tornado diagram. The tornado diagram and definitely the S-curve for the quantitative risk. The tornado diagram, this is an important risk strategy. Some people don't use it, but it's actually a visual thing for you, where you can see that your 0 point is here and your risks for each individual activity is set over here, and you are putting if the risk is plus or minus. And you see they call it tornado diagram because you have an axis and you have a shape of tornado. This is the shape of the tornado where it's moving. So the shape of tornado could be moving more to the plus and could be moving more to the less. They could increase and decrease. It's like a bubble. So expect it that the tornado diagram is a flexible way where you are comparing each diagram in each period with the other period. So you are putting layers of tornado diagrams, and you can see if what is better, the tornado to move faster, bigger, then you are in more threat and you are in more risks. But if the tornado is reducing and decreasing, then the tornado is disappearing actually, and things going back to normal. So that's why they call it tornado diagram. Remember it, keep it in your mind. This is the tornado diagram. The other one is the S-curve for the quantitative risk analysis. Okay. Once we calculated the EMV for the whole project, we just put the EMV for the individual life cycle of the project, the timeline of the project, and we put a simple cumulative value. And for each cumulative value, you've got the S-curve. The S-curve is the cumulative because it's an integration of the whole values. So you have the expected value here, and you can see from the S-curve your planned risk versus the actual risk, the behavior. And you can compare it, the two S-curves, and you can see if you are going below or above the risk expected. So what you have to do now, the risk response need to be taken for each identified or unidentified risk. So for the threats, for the negative risks, you need to take some actions. Those are the actions mentioned are escalate, avoid, transfer, mitigate, and accept. So accept is like, okay, I have nothing, I cannot do anything with it, and I have to accept it. What is the cost of this risk? If it occurs, I am dealing with it. There is no way to escape from it. The mitigate means, okay, I'm dealing with it. I will try to reduce it. The transfer means if this is occurred, I'm going to transfer it to other party. Like you are preparing your project and you prepare an insurance policy for the project. So if something occurred, you are claiming it to the insurance and the insurance will cover it to you. This is the transfer. The avoid means, okay, if something, I have to do something to avoid making this happening. So those are the strategies for the threats: escalate, avoid, transfer, mitigate, and accept. Strategies for the opportunities, where if the opportunity occurred, that you have also escalate, exploit, share, enhance, and accept. Finally, we reach here to the important line. This is the risk register. The risk register is your worksheet for the risk. The risk register here, I put a screenshot of my risk register, which I'm using. So let me just explain what your risk register should contain. You can change, you can create your own table, but the risk register should be having the risk identification, where you have the status. The status is it's active, is if the risk is occurred, if it's already occurred, if it's closed, if expected. The risk ID, definitely. Then you need to make the risk event. The smart column I have here for this. Then the risk trigger, the impact area, if it's impacting your scope, your cost, your time, your quality. Okay, the probability and the impact. Once you put here the probability impact, I'm having here, this is only a simple table where you have low and high only, but you can have I mentioned, low, very low, very low, low, mitigate, or moderate, high, and very high. So here I put only low and high. And this is the risk matrix, which is automatically based on this. It will give you in which area is it. Then the risk owner. The risk owner, if it's you as a contractor, or you as a client, or you as a subcontractor. So the name of the owner will be set here. Then you need to have the strategy. What are the strategy used? You are avoiding, you are sharing this risk, you are transferring the risk, or whatever, what is mentioned in the previous slides. And you need the risk response actions. What are the response? What are the things you need to do? So you put it here. And this is the risk response strategy. You fill all these, and during your project execution, you are monitoring your risk. So you are monitoring the risk and you are updating, and you can see that if your strategies are working or not. Once you set your risk register and you are ready to go with your project and everything is ready, you are moving onward with your project. And now this is the important part where most of the project managers forget to do. This is the lessons learned. The risk lessons learned register is important. Once a risk occurred and you are creating your risk response and you see that your risk response is going very well, or it's not going very well, it's actually going bad, the response you put is not going not good, then you need to once this register occur, then you need to put your lessons learned, and you need to share the lessons learned with other stakeholders and with other parties, because they have to know it, and everyone should avoid this risk and use the lessons learned to learn more about this risk and how to mitigate with this risk in the future when this risk occurred in another project or another phase. So your lessons learned register is important. So for you as a project manager, you will work with, during the project, you will work with your risk register, which has all what we had mentioned, and you will work mostly also with the lessons learned. Don't forget the lessons learned. Be a professional one to use the lessons learned and register it. Once also, this is during the project. Once you complete the project, create your lessons learned for the project and share it with your management. You will improve yourself and you will improve others to avoid the things occurred in your project to be again repeated in other projects. You are feeding others with your experiences. Meanwhile, others will do the lessons learned, and they will feed you with your experience, with their experiences, and then you can use their lessons learned, the response of the risks for the lessons learned from other projects in your project, on your ongoing or upcoming project. So if you have any questions, please, you can share it with me. You can leave it down in the comments in Whiteboard, Whiteboard Project Management YouTube channel, or you can send it always to me on my contact. You can send it on the contact list of Whiteboard Project Management website, whiteboardpm.com, or you can send it by email to me at wpm@whiteboardpm.com, or you can contact me on social media, which are all mentioned here in this slide. So this is all for today, and I thank you for choosing WPM as your educational platform, and I hope to see you in the next sessions, and we will see you on the whiteboard. Thank you.